The X-Men film series has had a long and storied history. The original X-Men films, along with Spider-Man and Blade, brought legitimacy back to comic book films post-Batman and Robin, and much like Spider-Man and Blade, the third entry was total crap that killed the franchise. And then Wolverine Origins killed it again. But through the 2010s, as the Marvel Cinematic Universe took hold to dominate Hollywood, the series has gone through something of a renaissance. Prequel film X-Men First Class is one of my favorite movies, Days of Future Past was spectacular, and raunchy comedy Deadpool and gritty noir western Logan were not only instant classics, but they redefined what superhero films could be in the age of the MCU. And just as the series seemed to hit its stride as a series of alternative superhero films, the unthinkable happened. Fox decided that it was making enough money off sports and political propaganda channels and put its film division up for sale, where it was eventually bought by Disney. And if this upsets you because Rey doesn't have lore significance and 2 of 23 Avengers films don't star white guys, the only other bidder in the race was Comcast, aka that company that usually beats out EA for most despised corporation in America. The Disney buyout means that the X-Men and the Fantastic Four are guaranteed to get rebooted into the Avengers films. In fact, word on the street is Marvel Studios already has a Doctor Doom script ready to roll. But this put the X-Men in an awkward situation, because 2 X-Men films were ready to release when the buyout occurred: horror spin-off The New Mutants and main series entry Dark Phoenix. New Mutants was supposed to come out a year and a half ago, but then they delayed the film a year to do reshoots and add a new character. The new release date came and went. It's been claimed the reshoots never even happened. Some of the members of the child cast have aged to where they can't do reshoots anymore, and nobody knows what in the hell's going on with this damn movie. Dark Phoenix, a second stab at adapting an iconic storyline that was already botched in X-Men 3, was also delayed a year because the film was deemed an unmitigated train wreck by the studio, and it took them a year to reshoot the movie twice and to try and recut the film into something vaguely watchable. Dark Phoenix bombed catastrophically at the box office. It's estimated to come $120 million short of making back its budget. It's actually already been pulled from most theaters at time of posting. It's just this review was delayed because my computer died and I had to start the script over. Luckily, I have high retention for meaningless bullshit. So is the movie as bad as its reputation and its box office performance would suggest? Well, let's take a look at X-Men Dark Phoenix. Was that they took X-Men off the title to ape Logan? But my ticket stub literally just said X-Men on it. The movie starts with Jean Grey, who has psychic and telekinetic powers, as a little girl riding in a car when she has a bout of power incontinence and accidentally crashes the car, killing her parents. Professor X comes to pick her up and invite her to join his school. Take this pen, Jean. It's a gift. You could use it to draw a picture, you could use it to stab someone, but it's your choice how to use this gift. You could also use this pen to write a new revision of the script where this pen we spent a minute establishing ever comes up again. Fast forward to 1992, and NASA is launching a shuttle into space when it runs into what appears to be a solar flare. NASA loses contact, and Professor X rallies the X-Men to help out. Jean, Cyclops, Nightcrawler, Quicksilver, Beast, Mystique in drastically worse makeup than prior films to appease Jennifer Lawrence, and I have no black female action figures, so Storm will be played by Enfys Nest. Okay, team, you're going to take the X-Jet up into space and rescue those astronauts. Any questions? Yeah. How in the hell is the X-Jet going to get into space? It's alright, Beast put a rocket engine on the jet, which is about one of 1,000 things that a ship needs to go into space. And I don't think the engine's even going to work, if I'm honest. Oh, you're all fine. Have fun in space! We're gonna die, aren't we? I'd never let anything happen to this team, Jean. And requisite scene of camaraderie so Mystique's death feels tragic? Check! So because all known laws of physics and aviation be damned, the X-Men go to space in an airplane and no spacesuits. They start rescuing the astronauts. Cyclops blows up a malfunctioning engine, Storm ices over the shuttle's hull to seal it off, not sure her power should work in space, but whatever, and Nightcrawler and Quicksilver teleport over to save the astronauts. As intelligence insulting as this is, it's nice to see the X-Men on a mission that isn't just punching people for a change. They save the astronauts, but they realize they missed the captain, and Storm can't keep the shuttle sealed anymore. This is too dangerous! We're leaving! We don't leave people behind. Jean can hold the ship together and get the captain. I have to be inside the ship. Since when? Since the plot says so? See, just duct tape a fishbowl on Kurt's head and we're all set. That's how spacesuits work, right? No! Hey, there's nothing covering my hands. Is that a problem in space? Yes! Hey, how come just having Jean move the shuttle out of the flare's way isn't an option? I don't know. Also, we have 30 seconds before that flare hits. So Nightcrawler and Jean go back to the shuttle. Jean can breathe in space because psychic, I guess. They get the captain, but Jean gets left behind as the flare, aka the Phoenix Force, hits the shuttle and enters her body. Now, Jean already had the Phoenix power-up in the last movie, but why would these movies give a shit about continuity now? Of course, Jean survives and they head back to Earth. Now, this is one part of the movie that I really liked. It's established that the X-Men are super popular and beloved around the world since they defeated Apocalypse in the last movie. Professor X has a phone line to the president, there's a huge cheering crowd of fans when they land, and we see tons of people flocking to TVs to see them on the news. Not only is it nice to see this in an X-Men movie, we don't get to see this in most superhero movies. The public reacting to superheroes like they're the coolest thing on Earth. It's a nice touch. The X-Men return home, and Mystique has some choice words for Professor X. You're out of control, Charles. You're putting these kids at risk, and for what? To save humans? To try and scrape some goodwill together for mutants? I don't remember the last time you put anything at risk, and by the way, the women are always saving the men around here. You should think about renaming the team the X-Women.
Impressive. Every word in that sentence was wrong.
Okay, first off, kids? The team's youngest are in their 20s. I know neither of us have aged in the last 30 years, but the entire team is consenting adults. Second, yes, I'm asking the team to put their lives on the line to save people. That's what superheroes do. You'd rather the only superhero team on Earth just sit on us hoping things get better for mutants in the public? Shit, the last movie you were arguing to me that we needed the X-Men to help mutants lot in life.
Out there, mutants are still running, hiding, living in fear. You want to teach your kids something, teach them that. Teach them to fight.
How have we both 180'd since then? Third, you can't remember the last time I risked myself in a mission? I'm in a wheelchair from one of our missions. The hell am I going to do in space that I can't do better from Cerebro? And four, X-Women? Really? Setting aside the fact the name is derived from human or mankind and has never had anything to do with gender, name one time on screen the women have disproportionately saved the men in these movies. I mean, were you trying to make Mystique look like a bitch? The only real point Mystique has here is how unfair it is that mutants, aka minorities, have to work their asses off and be goddamn paragons to gradually chip away at prejudice, or else their every slight perceived misbehavior is held over their heads. Prejudice that only exists because a percent of a group are terrorists or thugs or just from old bias that won't die out. It's a flash of the social commentary the X-Men films have had at their best, but the movie does almost nothing with it. Then there's an out-of-nowhere scene where Charles speaks at a presidential dinner and humble brags to a bunch of people, while very conspicuously not having any other X-Men there. So Charles has a painfully shoehorned out-of-nowhere arc of having to overcome an ego that he developed in between movies. It's not a compelling story, and it's just bizarre to give Charles a big arc and divert focus away from the main X-Men team. Can't believe we're the last of the first class. Yeah, since Bryan Singer is a dick and dropped a bust on all the characters that weren't his. I think I should leave. You and Charles will patch things up eventually. Requisite scene building up Beast going rogue when Mystique dies? Check. I will say the movie does a good job setting up Scott and Jean's romance without ramming it down your throat. They're sweet, likable, and believable, plus there's a subtle moment where Scott comforts a nervous Jean as the jet's taking off that I thought was nice. The problem is, skipping ahead a little bit, Scott's given almost nothing to do anytime he's not on screen with Jean, so once Jean goes psycho, he goes from realized character to just there. There's another really good scene here where all the students of the X-Mansion have a party in the backyard. Dazzler performs a song with visuals courtesy of mutant powers. Kids attend the concert using portals. They're casually using their powers for fun. Holy shit, one of the few times in these movies that this school feels like an actual school. With, like, kids and shit. But sadly, the good times do not last. Beast discovers that while Jean isn't sick or injured from tanking a solar flare to the face, the flare has sent her power level over 9,000 and she starts losing control of her powers. She has an accident at the concert where she flattens the mansion's yard, and now that she's stronger than Professor X, she realizes that he's tampered with her memories. He made her forget that her dad's still alive, and it's really unclear. I think he also erased her memory of having caused the accident in the first place. Jean then storms off to find her dad, alone since she's worried about hurting Scott on accident, and Charles follows her because he saw Shazam. He knows this isn't going to end well. Hell no, I didn't come looking for you! You killed my wife, you bitch! I never wanted to see you again! Now buzz off! Naturally, Jean is distraught, and she heads outside to find the man who brainwashed her, flanked by X-Men, spread to look as intimidating as possible. Smooth move, jackass. Scott almost manages to talk Jean down, but Jean freaks out when cops roll up and she starts chucking cars everywhere. Desperate to contain her outburst, the X-Men, well, fight is a strong word, mildly inconvenience Jean while she mops the floor with them and inadvertently blows up a house. Quicksilver gets chucked through like 20 fences and injured badly enough that his ass is not seen or mentioned again until the film's epilogue. Not the worst idea since he was such a game breaker in the last two films, it's just the X-Men are so marginalized in their own movie, I honest to God did not notice that he was gone. Also, Beast goes into this fight wielding a taser. The X-Men's main science guy who built a spaceship on accident couldn't come up with anything better to bring than some off-the-shelf taser. Mystique very nearly manages to talk Jean down, but Jean has one last plot contrivance bout of power incontinence, and she accidentally pushes Mystique back where she's impaled on a pole and dies. It's supposed to be a tragic scene, but Jennifer Lawrence has so vocally wanted out of the series for so long that all I could think was, "You're free!" Also, does anyone else think it's not a coincidence that she dies the exact same way as Logan? Raven, no! Say something! Anything! Screw you guys! I finally got out. Jean gets away, the X-Men have a funeral for Mystique, Scott and Storm debate for a few seconds over whether Jean killed Mystique on accident or on purpose, good scene that's never brought up again, and the Exposition News Network says that the government is considering mutant internment camps, which should not be topical in 2019! Yes, I'd like to speak to the president and ask him what the crap. Professor, this line is getting disconnected. What? Why? A single house blew up with no casualties except for one of your own. That means you suck and we hate you. Oh, come on, the Avengers had to blow up 3 cities and an embassy before the government turned on them, and we get boned over a single house? Yup! Bye! Hello? Well, Mystique, whatever you are, I want you to know, I told you so. After Mystique's funeral, Beast starts yelling at Charles that everything is his fault because he screwed with Jean's brain, which, yeah, let's talk about that. Throughout the movie, Professor X gets yelled at for lying to Jean, except all he did was hide the fact that her dad was alive but wanted nothing to do with her. You would never tell a child that. It's not that much above lying about an adoption. Yeah, he probably should have told her at some point, but literally the only reason this is a problem is because Jean found out about it in the middle of a completely unrelated meltdown. But the entire movie badgers on about what a jackass Professor X is for not telling a traumatized student that she killed her mom and her entire family hates her, and he never gets to say any defense for himself. So now we have a second out-of-nowhere arc for Professor X that is built on complete horse crap. Oh, and I forgot to mention, at some point a bunch of shape-shifting aliens called the Dabari land on Earth looking for the Phoenix Force, led by Jessica Chastain's character, Vuk. And it turns out that Vuk is an actual character from a single issue of the Avengers in 1963 who's never been mentioned since. You know you're scraping the bottom of the barrel when your villain doesn't even have a Wikipedia page. If you're wondering why the final X-Men film suddenly has aliens thrown into it, it's because the comic book Dark Phoenix storyline involves Jean blowing up some planets and starting a war with aliens. And some people, in my opinion stupid people, were really upset that the grounded, realistic X-Men films focused on discussing social issues didn't jump the shark by throwing aliens into its first Dark Phoenix adaptation. So there, this one has aliens. Boring, confusing, heavily rewritten, pointless-ass aliens that have dick to do with the plot. Is this better now? Anyway, Vuk has some kind of vague power that lets her cave people's chests in and then immediately cut the camera away so we don't see what happens. I need to know everything about Jean. I don't know enough to tell you. Oh, good. Why? Because I need to demonstrate to the audience that I'm evil. Oh, yeah! And so, because we had to crowbar him into the plot eventually, Jean goes to see Magneto, who's living on an island building a settlement for mutants. This is supposed to be a take on Genosha, but Genosha in the comics is an advanced sci-fi city. This is a few straw huts on some farmland. How did you stop hurting people? I realized that it did no good to kill people for vengeance. I will kill that bitch and get vengeance! I need your help. I have to stop killing people. My God, I love killing people! Who did you kill, Gene? Whose blood is that, Gene? What did you do, Gene? What did you do? Please stop, I'm getting upset. Good! Now whose blood is that, Gene? Answer me, Gene! Who? Whose blood is that? Who? Whose blood is that? Mr. Magneto, sir, some soldiers are here to talk to you. Oh, good. Well, make yourself at home. I'll be right back. Some soldiers drop by Genosha looking for Jean, so she comes outside and starts smashing their helicopters and very calmly tries to kill them all. Yep, she's just a serial killer now. Magneto barely manages to stop a chopper from crashing and save the soldiers, and despite a valiant effort to show Magneto pushing as absolutely hard as he can, Michael Fassbender kind of looks like he's trying to crap a steel cable in this scene. Magneto throws Jean out because I can't see how throwing an unfathomably powerful mutant in the middle of a full mental breakdown out onto the streets could possibly go wrong. And Jean goes to a bar because why not get the unstable god-tier mutant crunk while we're at it? Jean is met by Vok, who takes her to meet the rest of the Dabari. The thing you encountered in space is the Phoenix Force, only we'll never actually call it that. It's a great cosmic entity that we've been stalking since it blew up our homeworld a few years ago. It's destroyed everything that it's touched except for you. Our people are nearly extinct. We need the Phoenix Force to repopulate our species. Come with us, terraform a planet for us to live, and you'll be our personal Jesus. Oh, that actually sounds kind of nice. Also, you should kill all your friends. Okay. Professor X can't track Jean with Cerebro, so Beast meets up with Magneto and they join forces to kill Jean and avenge Mystique. Magneto has spies around the world that find Jean for him, but Professor X spies on Magneto to get her location and they intersect. So, you're going to fight Jean? Yes. Head on? Yes. You have no plan? Correct. Even though you nearly shat out your own kidneys trying to stop her barely exerting herself? Yes. And despite how a fight near civilians will set mutant relations back a decade? Don't care. You know she's Godzilla and you're the Japanese military here, right? I respectfully disagree. If you hurt Jean, I'll fucking kill you. Really? We're wasting our one F-bomb on that. Okay. Eric, why are you so damn stupid in this movie? And then comes the line that everyone's been mocking as the film series turning self-aware. Eric, listen. I'm sorry about Mystique. You're always sorry, Charles! And there's always a speech! Nobody cares anymore! Yeah, Sophie Turner recounted in an interview one of her male co-stars walking off the set. He's not named, but my money's on Fassbender, because he so does not look like he wants to be here. So the X-Men and Magneto fight. Magneto brings two no-name mutants to the fight, a psychic lady so Charles has an excuse to be here, and a guy whose power is prehensile dreadlocks. Magneto brought a guy with magic hair to fight the Dark Phoenix, and the sad thing is that Storm, lady who controls ice, wind, and lightning, fights Hairman to a draw! The two ending action scenes are actually pretty good. They're shot close enough and with enough choreography to look kinetic, but not so close as to devolve into shaky cam. This first fight, the action is kinda stupid though. Storm and Hair Guy fight, Professor X and Psychic Lady kinda stand there arguing over Nightcrawler, and Cyclops shoots at Magneto while he just blocks it until Beast tags in, but it's shot well enough to look like something's happening at least. Well, Magneto gets through and he gets to take his crack at Jean. Magneto completely does not acknowledge Vuk's presence, so when people speculate that at one point in the script she was supposed to be a Tyler Durden hallucination, I suspect that's why. I know whose blood that was, Jean. And you're here to kill me? Yes, I am here to kill you. I am going to kill you now. Eric, why are you so damn stupid in this movie? Ah! If it makes you feel better, I did not hurt Jean. Ugh. So then Professor X gets to take a crack at Jean. Are you here to kill me too, Professor? What? No, I want to help you. If we can help you control your powers, everything will be... I'm sorry, who's that standing next to you? Hold on, Professor, I can't hear you back there. Wait, what? Yeah! Sweet buggered Christmas on toast! Ow! I will not let you kill me! You know what, Jean? Read my mind. You're too strong for me to stop you. Maybe then you'll believe me. Fine, I will. So Jean reads Professor X's mind and finds out that he really does just want to help her regain control of her powers and get her life back on track, which finally gets her to chill the hell out. My God, what am I doing to my friends? I hate these powers! Well, I could take the Phoenix Force away from you. Would you like that? What the Yes! Obviously! Why didn't you say that before? Okay then, just give me a minute. Well, this all worked out much nicer than I expected. BT dubs, I'm gonna kill everyone on the planet. Why? I don't know. Do you need our planet for something? No, we can terraform and live anywhere. So what the actual hell? What part of, I don't know, was not clear to you? Wait, you said the Phoenix Force destroys everything it touches. Won't this kill you? Oh, honey, I said that like 20 minutes ago. Nobody's gonna remember that. Jean, don't let her take the Phoenix Force! Can't stop her! Too strong! Get away from her, you bitch! So they get Vuk to Vuk off, Jean passes out, and some cops come to arrest the X-Men for literally no reason. Alright, men, the X-Men have apprehended multiple known criminals before civilians got hurt. During the fight, some cars got wrecked. That means the X-Men suck, and we're arresting all of them. Any questions? It's well known that Dark Phoenix's climax was rewritten and reshot into a train battle. It's presumed that Captain Marvel scooped their original ending of a space battle against a fleet of aliens, so I suspect the cops turning on the X-Men at the drop of a hat was less for commentary and more to rush to the new ending as cheaply as possible. Also, the cops that arrest the X-Men are called the Mutant Control Unit, which abbreviates to MCU. The MCU takes the X-Men away at the end of the movie. Cute. So the X-Men, Magneto, and Magneto's nameless flunkies get put on a train heading to prison, I guess. For what it's worth, Hank, I'm sorry. You were right. I am a threat to the X-Men. I've learned my lesson that it's wrong to ask superheroes to risk their lives to save people. Wait, is that what you were supposed to be learning? It was either that or it's wrong not to tell children that their entire family hates them and that they're all alone in life. You know, when you put it that way... The train gets attacked by a horde of Dabari who seem to have no superpowers besides mild super strength and being slightly bulletproof, so the mutants are freed to kick some ass. The fight on the train is actually really good. Beast is leaping all over the place fighting dudes, Magneto is impaling and crushing people, Storm goes to the top of the train and lightnings a bunch of dudes, Magneto's flunkies immediately get killed, Nightcrawler gets a knife and teleports all over butchering people, Cyclops goes to town blasting guys off the train. It's a really friggin' badass action scene. There's just one problem though. These villains suck. A team of heroes fighting a CG army is a pretty common trope now thanks to the Avengers, but there's usually a compelling villain fighting the heroes through proxy. The Chitauri are an extension of Loki, the Black Order are an extension of Thanos. These fights work because a compelling villain is pulling the strings. Here, the Dabari are an extension of Vuk, and we don't know a thing about Vuk. Vuk is boring and confusing. I don't know enough about her to care, so we don't care about the Dabari. This scene is cool because we get to see the X-Men kick ass one last time without having to hold back, but there's nothing else to it. So Professor X goes to talk to Jean while Vuk walks through and tosses aside all the X-Men with those vague powers that I guess she has. So, why are you a little girl in my head? Symbolism, I guess? Listen, Jean, I am so sorry that I... No, it's fine. You were trying to do the right thing and you did it out of love. I'm over it. Wait, really? Yeah, we're cool now. So we spent the entire movie desperately chasing you down to keep you from exploding, and all you needed was a good nap? Huh, I guess so. Hold on a sec. So Jean wakes up and demolishes the train, fitting to end this train wreck with a train wreck, and she saves the X-Men and Magneto with force fields, now having complete control of her powers. She disintegrates the last of the Dabari as they run up to punch her. Why does everyone think they can take Mewtwo on steroids barehanded? But because the plot says so, she can't kill Vuk without also disintegrating the X-Men. Don't ask, she just can't. Your emotions make you weak. No, my emotions make me strong. Oh God, are we really leaning on that old cliche? Screw it, I'm done with this. Jean takes Vuk and floats into the atmosphere and they both explode, leaving behind a giant flaming bird in space. And then the movie pretty much ends. They don't really mourn Jean much past a shot of Scott walking past her grave. The X-Mansion is renamed the Jean Grey School because... it happened in the comics, and Beast is now headmaster of the school while Charles retires and travels the world. So the guy who decided to murder a student for losing control of her powers is now in charge of children who can't control their powers, while the competent leader with decades of experience retires because he helped a deeply traumatized student. Magneto invites Charles to live in Genosha and they play chess in a callback to the end of the first movie, while the camera pans up to show a massive flaming bird in the sky to indicate that Jean is still alive. And that is how the X-Men film series ends. And this is how it should have ended. Who the hell are you? I am a shepherd, come for his lost sheep. Eric, I don't feel so good. You mutants have earned your place in history. You brought superhero films back from the brink, kept Marvel out of bankruptcy, and pushed the genre to revolutionary places. But your world is rotting from the inside out. It has for years, and this cannot continue. It's time to end. It's time for the next chapter. It's time to come home. Well, Charles, I guess this is the end. I said there's always a speech. Any last words to send us out on? If they do onslaught, I'm going to shoot myself. Amen. Hey, Scrotum Chin, you forgot someone! Oh, people still like you. You're coming with me. Oh, how nice! I get invited to the Avengers Clubhouse after you kill off Cap and Black Widow! Who am I gonna have a threesome with now? Dude, spoilers! Oh, shut up! You've had months to see Endgame! Point is, maybe I don't want to work for another monolithic corporation. Maybe I want to live somewhere Spider-Man's above the age of consent. I can't man crush on Tom Holland! Although that Paul Rudd is tasty. Listen here, you pizza-faced dipshit! That was uncalled for. The malcontent dorks are mad at us for Star Wars. The Fox News crowd is mad at us for Black Panther and Captain Marvel. I will not have all the normal people who actually matter mad at us for losing Ryan Reynolds. Now you can either walk through this portal on your own, or I can carry you through it in a bucket! Okay, fine. Don't get your stones in a twist. Get your ass in there. Say, does that Soul Stone actually do anything besides kill off female leads? Honest to God, I have no idea. It's worth remembering that Dark Phoenix went into production with a few bullets in its feet. Most of the cast didn't want to return, and the acting shows it. They lost their main director when Bryan Singer was outed as a prolific accused child molester, and I mean accused in the Bill Cosby way, he frickin' guilty. And the film ended up being written, directed, and produced by producer Simon Kinberg, who'd never directed a movie before, and who already had a shitty creative track record off X-Men 3, Apocalypse, and Fant 4 Stick. The script was heavily based on Captain America Civil War, of all frickin' things, a film that has nothing to do with the Dark Phoenix storyline, and reportedly a good chunk of the reshoots occurred because the film was too close to Civil War to get away with it. They had to do rewrites when Captain Marvel scooped the Skrulls, and they had to do rewrites when they learned that this was their last X-Men film and they weren't getting the 2 sequels they had planned for. But if this is them given an extra year to fix the movie, and granted most of that extra year was because the cast had other commitments, the hell was this movie like before the reshoots? Dark Phoenix is a damn mess. The first half hour or so is mostly coherent and fairly well done, but once you hit the point where the reshoots clearly took over, the movie just falls apart. Jean is supposed to be the main character, and they couldn't decide what her character is supposed to be. One minute she's got no control of her powers and she's a ticking bomb, then she has control and she's just lost and confused. The next minute she's a calm, cold psychopath, and then she just blindly goes along with whatever Vuk wants to do for the rest of the movie. It's like she has spells where she just turns evil for no reason, and eventually she just resolves her issues off screen. 2 major scenes in the trailers that didn't make it into the film point to Jean at various points of production being split personality or much more of a villain, and the rewrites went so late into production that both arcs made it into filming only to be partially pulled out. Jean's character ends up being so damn vague and poorly defined that you don't fear her. You just get the feeling the entire plot would be resolved if the X-Men left her the hell alone to sort through her own shit for a few hours. The second half she feels more like a plot device than a protagonist. Professor Xavier should not have been the protagonist of this movie, but James McAvoy is the biggest name in the cast, so he gets the lion's share of the screen time and 2 BS character arcs that don't tie into the main story. This is the exact same executive thinking that sank X-Men Apocalypse. Too much focus on whoever's played by the biggest stars, and no time spent developing the actual main heroes or a compelling villain. The focus of the movie should have been on the X-Men mourning the loss of one of their own, questioning their leader, and struggling over what to do about a teammate falling to the dark side, but the X-Men feel like they're barely in their own movie. I got through summarizing this movie without giving Storm, Quicksilver, or Nightcrawler any lines, and I barely had to give Cyclops any lines. The movie shouldn't be that way. Magneto holds the idiot ball the whole movie to advance the plot, and that just leaves the alien villains, the Dabari, who were clearly hit so hard by the reshoots that they just make no damn sense. There is literally no given reason for Vuk to be evil. Everything she does wildly contradicts something from earlier in the movie. Dialogue early in the film completely contradicts any possible motivation the Dabari could have as villains. Between that and Jean's vague powers and shifting character arc, you're just never sure what's at stake in the movie. If you're not invested in Jean as a character, there's nothing to care about with this plot. But that's just it. Nobody did care about Dark Phoenix. Everybody knew the film was pointless because the next X-Men film will be a new continuity in the MCU. Fans didn't want a storyline that was effectively a redo of X-Men 3. Most fans already felt the series has had 2 great grand finales in Days of Future Past and Logan, and casual audiences who didn't know all this background information didn't want to see the movie because it was a follow-up to X-Men Apocalypse, which was shit! Put it all together and you have a movie that nobody wanted. I don't think Dark Phoenix is the worst X-Men movie. Apocalypse is much more boring and scattershot in addition to being longer. I even kinda enjoyed the movie, getting hooked by the intro and getting some decent suspension action while the film completely fell apart. But this is definitely a weak-ass way for such a beloved series to go out. People were saying in the lead up to release that Disney should have canceled the movie or put it direct to DVD or something, but I think they did the right thing giving this movie a theatrical run. A comforting announcement that no matter what Marvel Studios does with the X-Men, there's nowhere to go but up from this.